You say you made your bed this morning. Then you get a salute from the Navy veteran who's played a key role in the war against terrorism. David Martin takes the measure of the man.
Good evening. Tonight, I can report to the American people and to the world that the United States has conducted an operation that killed Osama bin Laden, the leader of al-Qaeda.
I remember thinking to myself, well, maybe that's why I was put on the earth, to bring justice to bin Laden.
Admiral William McRaven, now retired, thought commanding the bin Laden raid would be the crowning achievement of his 37 years as a Navy SEAL.
But I was wrong. It had almost nothing to do with bin Laden. What bin Laden allowed me to do was to get an invitation from the president of the University of Texas at Austin to be the commencement speaker in 2014.
So here are the 10 lessons I learned from basic SEAL training that hopefully will be of value to you as you move forward in life.
Right shoulder carry. Right shoulder carry.
McRaven made it through the notoriously brutal training, which had an 80% dropout rate. Ringing a bell was all it took to quit.
All you have to do is ring the bell to get out. If you want to change the world, don't ever, ever ring the bell.
And the secret to making it begins with one improbable act.
If you make your bed every morning, you will have accomplished the first task of the day. It will give you a small sense of pride, and it will encourage you to do another task and another.
The speech went viral, viewed millions of times, and becoming a bestseller.
I bump into people all over the world. They know nothing about the bin Laden raid, but they know that I told them to make their bed.
I got to know, did you make your bed growing up?
Absolutely.
He grew up on a military base in Texas where his father, a veteran of World War II, was a fighter pilot. In a memoir called Sea Stories, McRaven tells of being too small to be a standout football player, so he went out for the track team and had a chance to break his school record for the mile.
The night before my final race, I got a call from an old coach, Coach Jerry Turnbow. He says, well, Bill, you can do this. You can break the school record. You just have to run hard. So, Bill, you get out there and you run hard. And I said, okay, Coach, I will.
And he did.
Coach Turnbow helped me achieve that goal, and I attribute a lot of my future to him. Had I not broken that school record, one, I'm not sure I would have ever tried to be a SEAL, because in breaking the school record, I knew there was a chance that I could go on and be a Navy SEAL.
Being a Navy SEAL is not just tough, it's dangerous, even in peacetime. In 1995, he was in a small boat like this, trying to make it out through heavy surf.
This was a 35, 40-foot wave, and it just picks that boat up and dumps it right on top of itself. And I remember at that time thinking to myself, so this is how it ends.
McRaven was tangled up in the boat's lines and trapped underwater.
And then, all of a sudden, I'm free from it. How that happened, I don't know.
So you really don't know how you got out of that boat?
I mean, I think there was some divine intervention that pulled me out from under that boat.
After 9/11, he was assigned to the White House to work on counterterrorism. When a man named Richard Reed was discovered wearing a bomb in his shoe on a flight from Paris to Miami, McRaven came up with an idea that changed all of our lives.
I think we need to have people take their shoes off going through security, and we also need to start checking their laptops.
There are a lot of people who've been looking for you.
Yeah, I'm afraid of that.
Well, here's your chance to seek forgiveness from the American public.
Well, I will tell you, in my defense, I only thought we would put this in place for a couple of months.
In 2003, he was in Iraq commanding the task force which captured Saddam Hussein. For 30 days, McRaven was his jailer.
He came in and he was arrogant and he was pompous.
Did you talk to him?
I did. I was hoping that he would agree to tell his people to lay down their arms, to do something good on your way out. He chose not to do that, and I told him, then this is the last time you're going to see me.
McRaven spent much of the next 8 years shuttling back and forth between Iraq and Afghanistan, commanding and sometimes going on night raids.
We were probably doing 20, 25 missions a night in Iraq, 10 to 12 missions a night in Afghanistan.
Then, on the night of May 1st, 2011, as the president and his national security team monitored from the White House, McRaven commanded the daring raid against Osama bin Laden's compound in Abbottabad, Pakistan. Just before the mission, McRaven gathered his SEAL team and channeled Gene Hackman and his small-town team going to the state championship in the movie Hoosiers.
What is it? 15 feet.
15 feet. I think you'll find it's exact same measurements as our gym back in Hickory.
And so my message to the guys was, all of you have been on hundreds of missions. Just do this mission the way you have done every other mission, and we'll be just fine.
Another night, another raid.
Another night, another raid, yeah.
McRaven ran the mission from his command post in Afghanistan.
And then we get the call from the ground force commander, and he said, for God and country, Geronimo, Geronimo.
And Geronimo being?
We had gotten bin Laden.
The SEALs left behind a stealth helicopter which had crash-landed during the initial assault, but they brought out the body, which McRaven inspected to make sure it was bin Laden.
I knew bin Laden was about 6'4". So there was a young SEAL nearby. And I said, hey, son, how tall are you? And he goes, sir, I'm 6'2". I said, good, come here. I said, I want you to lie down next to the remains.
Not exactly scientific, but good enough to report to the president.
The president says to me, okay, Bill, let me get this straight. You had $60 million for a helicopter, and you didn't have $10 for a tape measure?
A few days later, the president presented McRaven a memento of the raid.
He says, Bill, I got something for you. And he reaches around behind his desk and pulls this out. Look, it says on here, if we can afford a $60 million helicopter, I think we can afford a tape measure.
The raid was, of course, a sensation. But how does it compare to the thousands of other missions McRaven commanded?
I saw guys going on missions that will never make the history books, that were more complicated, that were more challenging, that cost more lives and had more sacrifice.
Since 9/11, 430 members of the Special Operations Command have been killed in action.
There were a lot of dark moments, and I saw people rise up in those dark moments. Families when they lost loved ones, soldiers that were taking care of the families of the fallen, entire towns that came out to pay their respects.
Nevertheless, McRaven writes, war challenges your manhood, it reaffirms your courage, and would never lose its allure.
You say peace was meant for some people, but probably not for me.
I found myself at war. You try to make the best of it. You hope what you're doing is for something that is noble and honorable. And if that's the case, then I'm proud to be a warrior.
Did you get enough war?
I got enough war.